What if the biggest unanswered question in the Lindsay Clancy case is hidden inside just a few critical minutes? At about 5:15 p.m., Patrick left the house to pick up medication and dinner. At 5:33 p.m., Patrick called Lindsay from CVS because he couldn't find the exact medication. She didn't answer. At about 5:34 p.m., Lindsay called him back. According to Patrick, that conversation was brief. He said Lindsay sounded quiet and busy, and he assumed she was bathing the children. Then, at 5:54 p.m., surveillance showed Patrick entering 3V restaurant to pick up the food. Patrick estimated the drive home from the restaurant took about 10 to 12 minutes. That would place his return at approximately 6:04 to 6:06 p.m., and this is where the timeline becomes much more important. At 6:09 p.m., Patrick called Lindsay. She did not answer. Patrick testified that after returning home, he noticed the house was unusually quiet. He called out for Lindsay and the children. He checked upstairs. He found the master bedroom door locked. He retrieved an emergency key, opened the bedroom, saw blood on the floor and an open window, and then ran outside. He found Lindsay beneath the bedroom window, severely injured. Patrick says he asked her, "What happened?" And according to his testimony, Lindsay responded, "I tried to kill myself." Patrick then asked where the children were. He says Lindsay told him they were in the basement, but this is one of the most important evidentiary questions in the entire reconstruction. How much was Lindsay actually capable of saying at approximately 6:09 p.m. and in the minutes immediately afterward? She had suffered catastrophic injuries from the fall. And during the later 911 recording, Lindsay can reportedly be heard moaning and struggling to speak, while Patrick repeatedly tries to get her to respond. So we need to separate two things: what Patrick remembers Lindsay saying before or during the emergency call, and what Lindsay can independently be heard saying on the recording. Those are not necessarily the same type of evidence. Then comes another timing question. After finding Lindsay, Patrick testified that he attempted to call 911. He said his phone kept switching between Wi-Fi and cellular service, and that it took a few minutes before the emergency call connected. That makes those minutes especially important. If Patrick was already home by approximately 6:04 to 6:06 p.m., and we know he called Lindsay at 6:09 p.m., what exactly happened between his return and the successful 911 connection? How long did he spend inside the house? How long did it take him to find the locked bedroom? How long did it take to find Lindsay outside? When was the first unsuccessful 911 attempt? And at what exact second did the successful call connect? Those answers should come from phone records, not memory. And the Wi-Fi explanation deserves scrutiny too. A normal mobile 911 call does not require home Wi-Fi when usable cellular service is available. So if Patrick's phone really could not immediately connect, what exactly was happening? Was cellular coverage poor? Was Wi-Fi calling involved? Were unsuccessful emergency calls recorded by the device or carrier? Those are technical questions that the phone records should be able to clarify. Then there is another independently testable issue. Surveillance reportedly captured Patrick at CVS and later at the restaurant. Questions have been raised about differences in his shoes or clothing between those locations. If the footage really shows a change, the important question isn't whether changing shoes is suspicious. It's much simpler. At what time did the change occur? Because if Patrick was at CVS around 5:33 to 5:34, entered the restaurant at 5:54, and returned home around 6:04 to 6:06, then any confirmed clothing change has to fit somewhere inside that documented sequence. Changing clothes proves nothing by itself, but when we're reconstructing a timeline, every movement should have a place. The same applies to claims involving the home's internet and cameras. Were they actually offline? At what exact time? For how long? Did the outage begin before Patrick left at 5:15, during the period he was away, or after he returned around 6:04 to 6:06? And was it an internet outage, a camera failure, or something intentionally disabled? Those are completely different scenarios. Then the 911 recording becomes our strongest clock. The call itself lasted approximately 7 minutes. During that call, Patrick can be heard trying to wake Lindsay. Once paramedics arrived, he remained on the phone and went inside to search for the children. The recording then captured his reaction when he discovered them in the basement. Patrick testified that first responders arrived about 4 to 5 minutes after the successful 911 connection. That means the critical reconstruction should not simply say there were 17 missing minutes. It should ask something more precise, from approximately 6:04 to 6:06 p.m., when Patrick likely returned home, to 6:09 p.m. when he called Lindsay, to the successful 911 connection a few minutes later, to the arrival of first responders approximately 4 to 5 minutes after that. What can be independently accounted for at every point? Patrick's phone, the 911 audio, surveillance, internet, and camera records, Lindsay's medical condition, the clothing footage, and first responder timestamps. Put all of them onto one clock. Because if those records account for every minute, some theories surrounding Patrick disappear. But if they leave a period that cannot be independently reconstructed, then that is the real gap. This isn't about proving Patrick did something. It's about removing memory and speculation from the equation. Because the question isn't simply what Patrick says happened that night.